Stephanie, perhaps you could start us off by telling us a little bit about Cambridge's PTDM requirement, and maybe tell us a little bit about what the most effective components of that are, of that policy.
Sure. So the parking and transportation demand management ordinance was passed in 1998 as a way to help reduce traffic in our city as well as reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and it's triggered when a property owner of non-residential property increases parking on their site, because we know that if you increase parking, then you're going to generate drive-alone trips, and so that we see as the key to it. So it's triggered by parking, and if a property owner triggers it, then they have to commit to a limit on the percent of drive-alone trips coming to the site, and then they do annual monitoring to let us know how they're doing with that commitment and whether they're implementing all of the transportation demand management measures that they're required to do. And then we have an enforcement provision as part of that ordinance that allows us to go back to the property owner if they're not fulfilling their obligations, and at the far end of the spectrum, we can shut down their parking facility and charge them $10 per space per day until they come back into compliance. But we've never had to do that, because through negotiation and building relationships, we can always bring them back into the fold before we have to get to that point. But it is very important that we have that in place in case. It's the stick, yeah. So, and your question was, what are the most effective TDM measures? The best thing you can start with is to figure out how many drive-alone trips you can tolerate in your area, or how many you want to make your area exactly what you want it to be, and then cap the number of parking spaces at the level that supports that level of drive-alone trip. Capping parking isn't necessarily a strict TDM measure, but it is integral to everything we do, because if you have supported programs for biking and walking and transit, and also offer too much free parking, it's going to undermine your programs. So once you cap your parking at the level you want it to be, then you should charge for parking. That's really putting a price on the cost of parking is the thing that levels the playing field for people who are choosing how to get to work. If they have to pay for parking, it's going to make them think twice about it. And then something that I have not been able to get property owners to agree to, although I am definitely going in this direction, and I hope to bring a new project in with this requirement soon, is to charge daily for parking as opposed to monthly, because once people have a monthly parking pass, they consider it a sunk cost, and then every day, if they don't drive to work, they feel like they're not using something they've paid for, and I'd like to flip that thinking so that everybody has a T-Pass in hand, or if they've chosen to walk and bike to work, then maybe they have a monthly subsidy for that behavior. And then every day that they want to come by driving, they can, but they would have to pay daily for it, and it really changes their thinking. And then the last thing that I want to mention is our shuttles are incredibly important. We have the Alewife TMA shuttle, which goes into Alewife, and we have the Easy Ride shuttle, which is run by the Charles River TMA, which really makes it possible and easy for employees coming from north of Kendall Square to get into Kendall very quickly and conveniently.